Hey everybody, Laser Beam of Truth here, and today we are going to take a very fascinating ride into the history of the historical record of who the true Israelites were. This is very relevant today because it is the very foundation of biblical scriptures that say that God blesses those who bless the Israelites. And this is the very foundation of the reason by which the United States of America gives undying support for the state of Zionist Israel. The real question that I'm after here is not a question of Jews or Hebrews. This is a question of 2,000 years ago, who was Jesus referring to when he was referring to Israelites in the Bible? Okay, this is very important because based on certain texts in the Bible, we know that there are real Israelites, and we know that there are those who are claiming or pretending to be Israelites or Jews, but not. They're fake, okay? And we know this because of Revelations 2:9 and Revelations 3:9, okay? I know your works and your tribulation and poverty, but you are rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Israel and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. Okay, so this verse tells us something very compelling. First of all, it says that I know that the real Israelites are doing good works, and they're going through tribulation, and that they're in poverty. And Jesus is reassuring them, but you are a rich people. And my guess is that he's referring to spiritually rich and rich in cultural heritage, or maybe many other things, but obviously not monetarily rich with money. Okay? And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Israel, but are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. So what we learn here is that there are blasphemous people that claim to be, good children of God, but are actually of the synagogue of Satan. So evil people who are claiming to be, good children of God. Okay, so down here, 3:9, Revelations 3:9, he says, "Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan," the fake ones, "which say they are Israel and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you," true Israel. Okay, so we know that Jesus is telling us, first of all, that there are two different Israelites on earth. There are fake Israelites and there are true Israelites. And then in the end, the fake ones are going to go through some serious suffering, and they're going to have to ask for forgiveness, and make a reckoning, make amends. So the real question is okay, I'm going to tell you, this page is a very interesting page. Go check it out, HebrewIsraelites.org. All you have to do is do a search for Revelations 2:9 and 3:9, and it is the #1 search that comes up right there. Boom. So now the real question is okay, you're probably sounding crazy, Mr. Truth, Mr. Laser Beam of Truth. You're telling me that that all these years I've been praying to Jesus Christ that he was white and that Moses was white, and that in reality you're thinking he was black. How crazy are you? Bear with me here. Let's go over here to physical appearance. Okay. We know, based on the Bible, I'm gonna use one story here because unfortunately I don't have all the time in the world to explain this to you. But we know from one story in the Bible that Moses, to prevent from being killed by infanticide, was put in a basket on the river, sent down the river, and picked up by the royal house, the king of Egypt's family, which the king of Egypt raised him as his own son. Okay? So that wouldn't be so hard to believe if your imagination of Egypt 2,000 years ago was a bunch of white people, or a bunch of maybe Mediterranean-looking, Middle Eastern-looking people, Semitic people that we see today as Semitic. And I'm not referring to what we call Jews of Israel today, because they're Caucasian, and it actually is cited, by the way, if you want to really dig into this. I'm not being anti-Semitic to Jews. Their own Encyclopedia Judaica cites that 92% of Jewish people today are Caucasians. They are not the same genetic lines of those who are the Semitic tribes. There are Semitic Jews that are out there, but this is a very small percent, like 8% of the whole world's population. So anyways, but that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is, can we identify the true Israelites, and can we identify the false ones, and what evidence can we find to support that? Okay, again, Moses was raised by the king of Egypt 2,000 years ago, well, more than that, and the real question is, was the king of Egypt a black man or a white man? And the reason that that's important is because it takes a certain kind of idiot to mistake a black man for a white man. And I like black people, but I'm not dumb. I wouldn't be able to accidentally have some nurse bring me a black bouncing beautiful baby boy at the delivery room and tell me that that was my son after my wife had given birth. Well, unless my wife was black. I'm not married. But anyways, the point of the matter is that you'd have to be pretty dumb to mistake your own son for somebody of a different race. It just would be very difficult to do. So, what can we find? What evidence can we find? And I want you to go and click on the physical appearance side and read this whole page, because this whole page has all kinds of evidence that points to that. But I'm just going to, again, I don't have a bunch of time, so I'm just going to point out a couple things. Gerald Massey, English writer and author of the book Egypt in the Light of the World, wrote, "The dignity is so ancient that the insignia of the pharaoh evidently belonged to a time when Egyptians wore nothing but the girdle of the Negro." Interesting. Sir Richard Francis Burton, a 19th century English explorer and writer and linguist, in 1883 wrote to Gerald Massey, this guy up here, saying, "You are quite right about the African origins of the Egyptians. I have 100 human skulls to prove it." So this guy was an explorer, kind of like Indiana Jones in 1883, and he had skulls of the ancient Egyptians, and I mean, you could tell from skulls the racial background of the person that used to wear that skull. And so here is absolute empirical proof that the ancient pharaohs of Egypt 2,000 years ago were Africans. They were not the Mediterranean or Caucasian even people that we see in many, many movies that are depicted in Hollywood. And, it only takes two steps of logic to ask yourself why Hollywood, which is run by Zionists, would purport that kind of misinterpretation on history. But nonetheless, this is absolute empirical evidence. I don't care how hard it is for you to swallow, but this is absolutely empirical evidence that the ancient Egyptian pharaohs were black. They were North African black folks. So, that being said, one can only assume that Moses was also black. And if Moses was black, then that changes a lot of things about what we know about the historical records of the true Israelites. And it jives with the Gospel of Revelations. It jives with the Scripture. So, the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is go on a little bit further ride with us here. And we're going to look at a book by Arthur Kessler, who was an Ashkenazi Jew from Eastern Europe, who wrote a book about the Khazar Empire and its heritage. And by the way, you can go to this website, which I will post in the description, so you can come here. This is actually the entire book, okay? So you can read this whole book. By the way, Mr. Kessler is believed to have been assassinated for spreading this message. He is no longer with us, and his death is still quite mysterious. So anyways, what we're going to talk about now is Khazaria and the Khazar Empire and where the Ashkenazi Jews came from. This is very relevant stuff because, let's face it, Ashkenazi Jews are white. Eastern European Jews are Caucasians, okay? They did not originate from the Mediterranean. They did not originate from Egypt. They would not have been mistakable as Moses as a baby in a basket and raised by the king of Egypt as his son, unless he was a very kind and wise and very tolerant king, although I think he would have had a hard time explaining that to his buddies, about why his son was getting a sunburn in northern Egypt. Anyways, the point of the matter is the Khazaria or Khazar Empire was originally a very scattered bunch of warriors. Okay, this was at a time when there was a lot of nomadic tribes in this area of the world. Over here we had the Mongol horde, which was a very, very powerful military force. Over here we had the Byzantine Empire, which was very invigorated by the recent coming of Muhammad. So this was an Islamic empire, the first Islamic empire of the world, and the only, really, that has ever existed, because Islam got scattered to the wind after the Byzantine Empire broke apart. We had Persia and a couple other things. But anyways, the Byzantine Empire was monotheistic. Over here, to the west of the Khazar Empire, we had the Holy Roman Empire, which was also monotheistic among the Christian believers. So, as a military purpose, in order to culturally unify his people, the kings of the Khazar Empire wanted to adopt a monotheistic faith, because they were all believing in all these crazy pagan gods, which, by the way, are the ancestral historical basis for satanic rituals and satanic faiths, like the god of Moloch that they used to sacrifice children to was a pagan god, which, by the way, do a little bit of research on Bohemian Grove and you'll realize, Bohemian Grove, they're worshiping to the god of Moloch. When was the last time that happened in history? Well, probably over here in the Khazar Empire. So, these people were not, Jewish Israelites. These people are Caucasians that came into a powerful empire and brought the monotheistic faith of Judaism to their people for military and cultural solidarity, so that they could be one culture and fend off the Arab, Islamic, Byzantine Empire and the Holy Roman Empire over here and the Mongol horde over here. So, I encourage you to read a lot of this information. Arthur Kessler did a lot of research, and he's put a lot of information out here for you to read. So I encourage everybody to go and research about the Khazar Empire and the true Israelite heritage, or the Hebrew Jews of old, and ask yourself the question, who do you think the Bible is in reference to? Who do you think is in poverty right now? Who do you think is going through tribulations? And who do you think needs reassurance that they are a rich people? I'm telling you right now, it is not the Zionist state of Israel. It is not the Zionist bankers that rule the IMF and the Federal Reserve. It is not the Zionist moguls of the media. It is not the Zionist industry of movies in Hollywood. It is none of these people. Okay, folks? It is none of them. So, I'm going to ask all of you, be good to all cultures, be good to all faiths, including Jews. Most importantly, though, the true Israelites. This is my plea to everyone that's watching this, to be good and faithful Christians or Jews or Muslims or whoever you are, to the true Israelites. And that would be black people. That's based on my opinion, based on a lot of research. You leave your comments below. If you think I'm crazy, go ahead and post it. I've been called worse. Have a great day. God bless you all. Laser beam of truth.